Atlanta used to call itself the city in a forest. Trees on every street, front porches, a skyline you could actually walk to from your neighborhood. Somewhere along the way, that city got paved over, boxed in, and cut apart. Not by accident, by design. Today, Atlanta has some of the worst traffic in the entire country, a transit system that barely covers half the region it serves, and neighborhoods that were deliberately erased to make room for cars that didn't even belong to the people who lived there. This is the story of how a city with more natural advantages than almost anywhere else in the American South built its own decline into the blueprint, one decision at a time. In the 1950s and 60s, when America was building the interstate highway system, city planners across the country had a choice to make. Where do you route a highway through a city that's already built? And in Atlanta, that choice was made with brutal intention. Interstate 20 was carved directly through the city as a boundary line, separating white neighborhoods to the north from black neighborhoods to the south. City leaders at the time weren't shy about it either. Atlanta's own mayor at one point openly referred to the highway as, in his words, the boundary between the white and black communities. Sweet Auburn, once one of the wealthiest black commercial districts in the entire United States, home to Martin Luther King Jr.'s own community, was sliced apart by an interstate interchange that still casts a literal shadow over the neighborhood today. All in, close to 14,000 people were displaced by highway construction and so-called urban renewal projects across the city. 89% of them were people of color. This wasn't a side effect of progress. The highways were routed exactly where they were routed because the neighborhoods in a way had the least power to stop it. That damage didn't heal. It compounded. In the 1980s, Atlanta widened its downtown connector again, from 6 lanes to 12 and 14, just in time for the 1996 Olympics. Every expansion ate a little more of what was left of the neighborhoods on either side. Today, residents of what remains of these communities live in the shadow of a 10-lane bridge, breathing exhaust from a highway that was never built for them in the first place. It was built to move suburban commuters through their neighborhood as fast as possible without ever having to stop in it. In 1971, Atlanta had a real opportunity to build one of the great transit systems in the American South. The plan was for a regional rail network spanning 5 counties, connecting the growing suburbs directly into downtown. 2 of those counties, Cobb and Gwinnett, voted no, overwhelmingly. The reasons given publicly were about cost and local control, but longtime residents and historians have pointed to something else too, a fear common at the time across the country, that rail transit would make it too easy for the city's black population to reach the suburbs. Whatever the mix of reasons, the outcome was the same. Atlanta's transit system, MARTA, was built to serve only 2 counties, right in the middle of a metro area that today sprawls across nearly 30. Decades later, some of those same suburban counties have only just begun voting to join, one at a time, on their own timeline. The result is a rail system that looks almost like an afterthought on the map of a metro area with more than 6 million people. 2 lines crossing the shape of a plus sign, barely touching most of the region it's supposed to serve. So what filled the gap left by transit that never got built? Cars. An enormous, sprawling, endless supply of cars. Atlanta consistently ranks among the most congested cities in the entire United States, with commute times and traffic delays that rival cities several times its density. And it's not because Atlantans love driving more than everyone else. It's because for most people living in the metro area, there simply isn't another option. No train reaches their neighborhood. The bus doesn't run late enough. Walking isn't realistic when your office is 14 miles away across 6 lanes of highway. When a city builds only one way to get around, everyone gets funneled into it, whether it works or not. Atlanta's nickname, the city in a forest, wasn't just branding. For decades, it had one of the highest urban tree canopy coverages of any major American city, a genuine natural advantage that kept the region cooler, cleaner, and honestly, just more pleasant to live in than most car-dependent sprawl. But that canopy has been disappearing for decades, cleared acre by acre for parking lots, wider roads, and low-density suburban development that spreads out instead of building up. Every strip mall and surface parking lot that replaces a stand of trees doesn't just look worse. It actively makes the surrounding area hotter, contributing to the same urban heat island effect that makes desert cities miserable in summer. Except Atlanta didn't need that problem. It built it anyway. The irony is hard to miss. A city with a genuine environmental and aesthetic edge over almost every other Sunbelt metro spent decades trading that advantage away for parking spaces. Here's a number that surprises most people. For most of its recent history, the overwhelming majority of residential land inside the city of Atlanta was zoned exclusively for detached, single-family homes, not townhomes, not small apartment buildings, not duplexes, just one house, on one lot, for one family, block after block after block, in a city that desperately needed more housing as its population grew. That kind of zoning made it effectively illegal to build the small, affordable, missing middle housing that could have absorbed that growth without pushing prices through the roof. Instead, demand piled onto a shrinking supply of buildable land, and prices did exactly what you'd expect. Combine that with the Beltline, Atlanta's ambitious project turning old rail corridors into parks and trails. Genuinely one of the most impressive pieces of urban design the city has produced in decades. And still, in neighborhood after neighborhood along its path, property values spiked so quickly that longtime residents, many of them in historically black communities already scarred by decades of highway displacement, were priced out all over again. And then there's Buckhead, one of the wealthiest districts inside Atlanta's city limits, and for years now, home to a genuine, organized movement to secede entirely and form its own separate city. Setting aside the politics of it, the fact that this conversation is even happening tells you something important. When a city's wealthiest neighborhood seriously considers walking away rather than staying part of the shared whole, that's not a minor governance dispute. That's the long-term result of decades of decisions that divided the city block by block, highway by highway, zoning line by zoning line, until different parts of the same city stopped feeling like they had much in common at all. None of this happened because Atlanta lacked potential. If anything, it had more of it than most cities in the region. A real forest, a central location, a genuine claim to being the capital of the New South. But potential doesn't protect a city from bad decisions. It just means there's more to waste. Highways that were routed to divide instead of connect. A transit system that was voted down out of fear instead of built out of vision. A tree canopy that was traded for parking lots. And a zoning code that made it nearly impossible to house the very people the city needed to keep growing. Atlanta isn't a broken city. It's a city that had almost everything it needed to become something remarkable, and chose again and again to build the walls instead. Thank you for watching.